is a very different video than what I've usually posted on my YouTube channel. This is why I play VRChat. VRChat is a virtual reality social platform created in 2014 for the purpose of chatting in virtual reality. Yeah, that checks out. Now, I know many of you have seen a clip or two floating around, or maybe you have a friend that plays the game very often, but the game has changed drastically over the 10 years of its lifetime, and in 2025, it's a very different game. Now, why don't you and I take a virtual dive and see another reality filled with untold wonders and horrors when a gathering of peculiar individuals exercise their free will? I've been playing this game for a year some change now, and I have many thoughts about it. There are very interesting sides to VRChat, and some of them good and some of them bad. Now, I've been playing games with some of the most toxic and abhorrent humans on the planet, from Ark Survival Evolved, Smite, Overwatch, For Honor, and I grew up with the classic Call of Duty lobbies. Needless to say, this level of foolishness is nothing new to me. I took a shot at creating my own avatars, editing them, kit bashing them. What do you think? Do I look good? Men in the audience, ladies? It's hard to find a male avatar here, okay? I think I've gotten pretty good at it, but I want to talk about my experience with just the game itself. All right, let's start with the not so fun side of VRChat that most people are probably familiar with. The clip farming and rage baiting side that goes viral every now and then. If you played this game long enough in any public lobby, you will find countless individuals or groups who have gotten on the game for the sole purpose of bothering people. Some do it for internet clout and record it, but it's amazing how many of them just do it for the love of the game. Being a nuisance to others gives them purpose. And if they can't fulfill their wishes in one lobby, they move on to the next. And if you are blocked, kicked, and reported often enough, you may even get the in-game rank known as a nuisance. It's a rank the devs made because they have decided that people shouldn't even waste their time with that person. And they will automatically be muted for everyone. Everyone automatically has them muted, and their avatar's disabled. You can't even look at them. Now, these types of people, their goal is to be as loud and inflammatory and in your face as possible to get a reaction. Usually they just do the same things where they either blast bass boosted music in their mics at max volume, saying racial slurs and comments, verbal harassments, threats, crashing your game with an avatar, doxing you, hacking your account in some super extreme cases. But they will use any combination of them. Sometimes all of them, sometimes one, two, or three of them. Doesn't matter. Even while I was writing this section of the script, I was just in a public lobby, and I was called a dumb N-word. I wasn't even in this avatar. I was in a little robot, but they just did that. Okay, whatever. Not my first rodeo with that. But then the next part was strange because I ignored them, they went up to another person and said how they're going to touch them inappropriately. And then that other person said, "Get on your knees for daddy." And I was in the lobby for less than 5 minutes. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. All I know is therapy's not helping for anything I saw here today. My opinion when it comes to these losers is to just block them. You know, a lot of people like fighting back in a vain attempt to try and get one over on the trolls on their terms, but that's the exact reaction they want. In many of the online clips documenting these reactions, the recorder targets a person or a group of people that will repeatedly give them the reactions they crave in hopes that it will get them the viewership they desire. So They target the individuals, especially potentially mentally ill individuals or groups. Now, I'm not going to lie. We've all seen it. There are people who lie about their mental illness. I don't know why they do this. I have no clue. My guess is simply they want attention, but I'm not sure how that would work if, like if it's just in your bio and no one reads the bio, no one talks about it, then whatever. I guess it's different if somebody just constantly throws it in your face and mentions it. But I think a lot of times some people want like a sense of community by lying to people and saying that they have these conditions. Now, for me, and for a lot of other people, VRChat has some appeals. Everyone has their reason for being here. And from what I've seen, at least from most of the people I talk to, it's two very main things about VRChat that attracts so many people to come and play. And one is a form of social isolation, and the other is one's ability to express themselves completely unfiltered. Now, there's a correlation between many VR chat players and it's their inability to hang out with people IRL, In the real world, for whatever reason, they can't meet up with people. Maybe all of the friends that they really like are super far away, or maybe they have a medical condition that prevents them from going outside and socializing often. Maybe it's hard to walk. Maybe it's hard to go the distance, Whatever the reason is, right? Many people like coming to this game to just be a part of a group and hang out in a way. And some people are just willing to lie to feel more welcomed into another group. Now, VR chat provides the general escapism as any game does for the most part. But for a lot of people, it's on a completely different level. And I understand it. It allows them to express themselves in every way possible, for better or for worse. You can be a furry. You can be a femboy. You can be a furry femboy. You could be into military RP. You could be a furry femboy that's into military RP. And I'm just not the first time I've seen that. This is not unreasonable. But this game has a community for everyone. Everyone has something they can fit into, and at the same time of fitting into your own little niche, that you can also still have your own form of self-expression within that niche. You don't have to conform to anything. However, just like any other social media platform, there are users not trying to express themselves. They are trying to seek attention and validations. They fake mental illnesses, they fake medical conditions, some self diagnose themselves with anything they can. In an attempt to fit in, seem quirky, it's nothing new to the internet or the real world, to be honest. And in both cases, it's harmful to those truly affected by these conditions. Now, when people who aren't lying try to simply express who they are, they become targeted and interrogated for some kind of proof to see if they're faking it. And as you can imagine, that's annoying, especially if you actually have the condition. That's super annoying. You're sitting there, you're minding your business. Maybe you have insert mental illness in the bio, right? You actually just have it. You actually have the mental illness, but then now some stranger who's coming up to you who does not present themselves with the intentions of having a substantial conversation of any note, and they're just sitting there interrogating you about these conditions. And then when you don't want to talk to them because it's just bad faith off the start, oh, now you're faking it. You're faking it. And people just don't like that. And I can see why. Now, for many people, these communities, the little things they put in their bio, it's just a way to express themselves, maybe talk about their afflictions with people that actually have it as well. and they can do so and relate to somebody without the interrogation or like a lengthy explanation beforehand. It's a safe space where they can probably talk to someone that really understands them. But there are those that target these people for content and make fun of someone who probably just got on the game and were just existing there, all because they had some kind of group or something in their bio. Or maybe not even that. Maybe they're just like a furry, right? Now, this level of prosecution extends to everything. It goes from being a furry, from being a man that likes female avatars, from being trans. They will target you for anything that could actually get a rise out of you. Doesn't matter. I personally don't condone faking a mental or physical illness. I think everyone agrees with that. But I also think you shouldn't just try to prosecute everyone that claims to have one. That's ridiculous. Because in the real world, this would be like verbally harassing someone in public simply because they're wearing a shirt that displays some kind of level of harmless self expression, whatever it is. But the trend in VR chat is that having decency for the other human behind the screen out of the window doesn't matter. Some find that harassment, threats, and potentially turning people that suffer some kind of condition into entertainment to laugh at. And they think this is an okay thing to do. Now, of course, moderation tools exist, and using them is on the user's responsibility. But just because locks exist doesn't mean stealing from locked things is okay. Both of these things can exist. Harassment online is bad, but one should also exercise their ability to control these interactions by muting and blocking the individuals that try to engage in them. Now, in my opinion, this is the VR chat most people who don't play the game recognize. A bunch of weird people playing pretend in a virtual reality. They get mad when you get too close to their pixels, and fake illnesses like being allergic to digital tomatoes or having phantom pain. Now, it's funny and all, but, after being threatened with a digital prop in a game, you gotta wonder what's wrong with some of these people. But these people are fringed weirdos, if we're being 100% honest. There are few and far in between of people that act like that on this game. I can only imagine that if you're constantly constantly running into them, you have to be looking for them. Now, there are some deeper, darker sides to VR chat. Those involving groomers and child predators, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to talk about this. Not in terms of frequency or anything about that. I don't see any of that in where I hang out. But I don't think this is a controversial statement, and it goes completely without saying that any kind of 18 plus activities with minors is just bad. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't need to try to understand the person engaging in this, and I don't need to empathize with creeps that do it. Simple as that, right? We can all agree on this? I hope so. But I'm going to give credit to where credit's due on VR chat. If you've been online for any time since the internet existed, everyone knows that online activity between adults and minors has always had problems, especially in intrinsically social interactions. Now, VRChat has actually implemented an 18 plus verification system, and you can go to 18 plus verified lobbies. It came out 10 years later, but it exists. It exists. There's not much I can say about it, and personally, I've never seen this in any other game. So, that's it. They could take their chip. Now, that was some of the ugly side of VR chat, in my opinion. But if it's like that so often, why play? Well, simply put, it's not like that often. Most individuals usually dismiss and block the trolls that disturb them, carry out their VR session. Day is not ruined. But what are they doing? Why are they on this game? What are they doing in VR chat that they sit here and play for hours on end? Well, I don't know why everyone's doing it, but let me tell you why I'm doing it. The first things first is if you spent any significant time in an online social environment, you met at least one person or one friend group that's really cool, and you're like, man, I wish I could hang out with you guys, but unfortunately, fate has placed them in a different time zone on planet Vegeta. It's just not happening. And if there was a way to hang out in the same room, you know, watch movies, maybe go bowling, go to a shooting range, would you engage in that? Well, that's what VR chat excels in. It excels in pseudo social gatherings, all from the comfort of whatever dimly lit cave that you're playing this game in. Now, sounds dystopian at first. I know. Replacing IRL hangouts for virtual ones, but that's not exactly what I'm advocating for. If you can leave your room to hang out with people that you know, you should. But sometimes distance just doesn't let that happen. Let's say you get off work at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and your friend lives in New Zealand, and they also just got off work at the same time, but it's 10 p.m. their time. After a long, hard day, maybe you guys want to just chill, watch a movie, and talk. But the problem is that the cheapest flight for you two to just physically meet is $1,300, and it takes more than a day to get there. So obviously, meeting up after work is just not going to happen with them. But in VR chat, you could see them every day after work. It's a pretty easy to understand benefit. It's a practical way for you and distant or otherwise unreachable friends to have a shared space, sort of like FaceTime, but instead of slapping your phone to hit them, you full force punch the air and pray to God you don't hit anything expensive. So far, I have hit nothing but an arm wall, which is like a vertical dresser. I don't know what it is. That's just what I was told it was called. Nobody make fun of me. But what other things are there to do? Maybe you got a colorful cast of people that want to do more than just sit, talk, and watch shows. Maybe you actually want to do some activities. Maybe go dancing, photography, archery, clubbing, maybe a rave, racing cars, flying planes, go on an adventure. It is truly limitless on the things to do in VR chat. And there's so many communities that you can join that you could just have fun with. For me, I've even been to a real church sermon in VR chat with my friends. We thought it'd be funny to go, so we went. Let's just say it was something. I can't possibly go through every activity there is to do in this game, but I can share what I personally find enjoyable. Now, games, baby. I love games. Let me tell you something. I love games so much, I be playing games in my games, okay? There are so many games to play in VR chat, and all of them drag me back to a time where all I did was play Halo Reach custom games until the sun came up. With games like Trash Compactor, Sumeri Kart, Deagle Duels. There are even virtual arcades where you can play all sorts of retro games. Drum Hero, even Just Dance is in here. There's an extensive list of horror games that you can check out in this one world that's called the Horror Portal Hub. Uh, Although some of them aren't actually horror games, they're all great worlds. There are puzzle maps and even escape rooms like Pop Escape and Rupert's Tomb. Now, for me, there's another genre of activities that I love engaging with in VR chat, and that is the exploration maps. You can take a peaceful horseback ride on a snowy mountain. You can get lost in Dr. Moro's map series Organism and Epilogue Part 1 and 2. It's just a genre filled with breathtaking visuals, with stories you can fill in all on your own, with your own meanings and your own memories. You can get lost in the woods, maybe even relax in these maps, enjoy the scenery. For some people, if you want a side of adventure, maybe you could visit Project Aincrad. It's literally like being in Sword Art Online, minus the fact that there's a lack of a logout button. So don't worry, you're not trapped here. Now, if you want to just get completely lost in some worlds, zero direction whatsoever, you can try some of the liminal spaces like the Terracotta Valley. You can try Scanner, a world only seen through LiDAR equipment. or fall straight into the Library of Babel, a library of every book that could ever be, within some limitations. You can search your entire name, and it will be there somewhere. Or you can even go on an endless midnight drive, all under the cover of moonlight. Lastly, I enjoy photography. There are many, many, many breathtaking scenes and avatars that are just amazing to look at. And you pair them together, and I just can't even resist taking a photo sometimes. You can find any kind of theme for your avatar or your scenery, and just the world is your oyster after that. You can find cyber and tech, sci fi stuff, fantasy, natures, and some categories I don't actually know how to categorize, but you like it and you're just like, okay, I'm vibing. Now, the game itself has its own built in camera. However, some true camera connoisseurs came up with something known as the virtual lens, which has way more options than I know how to work, if we're being 100% honest. But I can already tell the difference between photos made with it and without it. The quality is quite well made, and you can change the graphics on it to go all the way from 1440p all the way up to 8K. Although it's gonna cause some performance issues, so spare your friends, please. All this to say, like every community, VRChat has its weirdos, but beyond the weirdos, you'll find a community of people wanting to share their time, their passion, their laughter, and create memories with people that would otherwise be too difficult to reach without VRChat, or in some cases, even impossible. If you don't think it's for you, that's completely fine, and that's fair. But if you want to give it a try, you can on iOS, desktop, standalone VR with the Quest, or you could try it on PC VR, like I am. I'm sure you'll find some place that you'll fit right in, and I'm not gonna lie and tell you you're gonna have a flawless time. But I would like to think that there is something in this game that unites every player to it. There is something here that makes them get back on for hours on end and keep coming back on hours and end, for people to delve deeper into their immersion in the game. I'm not a sociologist, I'm not a psychologist. So I doubt I have a genuine explanation that would work for everyone, but I don't think I need to. And maybe if you play the game, you'll find an answer that fits you perfectly. And that's good enough for you to come back. And maybe then you'll take a step every now and then into this cruel and unusual, yet beautiful virtual reality.